Hey guys, Michael Wynn here and welcome to the studio, and today I'm going to cover the correct settings when exporting an AAF out of Adobe Premiere Pro when sending it to Pro Tools for a sound mix coming up next. Okay, let's go ahead and bring up Adobe Premiere. And as you can see here, I have one of my previous videos on my channel, and the first step is as follows. We're going to want to go to File, Export, AAF. And from here, we'll choose the proper settings that we need to export to Pro Tools. So let's go through these one at a time. At the top here is mixed down video. One of the advantages to working with the AAF format and exporting out of Adobe Premiere is that it will also create and include a MXF video file, which is the preferred format for Pro Tools 12. The next option is breakout to mono. Pro Tools does not support multi-channel AAF or OMF importing, but not to worry. What it will do is it'll break it out to mono, and then in Pro Tools, you'll be able to then turn it back into stereo. The next option is render audio clip effects. 98% of the time, you're going to want to leave this unchecked. However, if this is like absolutely critical to your edit, also make sure you select to include clip copies without effects. So it just gives you that wiggle room so any roadblocks or problems you experience with that being rendered can be solved with the additional file. 48K is the industry standard for working with picture, has been so for many years. We're not going to change it. The next option is bits per sample. You can choose either 24 or 16-bit. There's no reason to choose 16-bit unless you want the file sizes to be smaller, but audio files in themselves, especially in comparison to their video counterparts, are so much smaller. So let's just leave it at 24-bit. Files. You have two options, separate audio or embed audio. What embed audio does is it takes the files and encapsulates them inside of the AAF wrapper. The other option is separate audio, which will actually create a audio files folder at the same root that you place the AAF file. I actually prefer separate audio files in my workflow. Sometimes when you put things in a wrapper or a zip file or something like that, have you ever noticed that sometimes they end up getting corrupt or you get errors? Some workarounds for that sometimes can be simply try exporting the OMF format. Also, certain versions of Adobe Premiere and Pro Tools may not be getting along well. So if the OMF doesn't work, then you might have to do some digging on some forums, because chances are other people have had the same type of error and you might find some solutions there, and it's just going to take a little bit of digging. The next option is preserve media directory name. I'm not really familiar with that, but I'm pretty confident it doesn't interfere with what we're doing to export to Pro Tools, so I'm going to go ahead and leave that unchecked. The next option is format. You can choose broadcast wave or AIFF. Broadcast wave has the advantage. Here's why. Most music files coming from composers or music library houses are going to be in the wave format. Also, most sound effects and sound effect libraries are also in the same wave format. So what it's going to do by working in AIFF is it's going to create a lot of unnecessary conversion. So it's preferred just to stay in the broadcast wave unless you have a specific reason not to. The next one is render. We can choose to copy complete audio files or trim audio files. I typically prefer 96 frames for handles. Because remember, in a video editing timeline, you can only edit at a per frame increment, where when you're working in an audio timeline, you can actually work in a sample increment. However, you can also choose copy complete audio files. Now, this is actually the preferred method, and here's why. It has to do with the original time code. So on set, when the audio and picture was recorded, there was a on-set timecode or original timecode being written into the file. By choosing this option and also choosing separate audio, you actually will keep the original timecode in the file. This is a very helpful feature in audio post workflows, which are really beyond the scope of this video. So now that we have all of our settings the way that we want them, we're going to go ahead and press OK and do the export. Since we're going to have multiple files and file folders here, I'm going to create a root folder And I'm just going to call it AAF export here. Okay. And go ahead and do that export. Now we're going to sit back and let Adobe Premiere do its work. I don't think so on those glasses. You don't like the glasses? I mean, I do, just not for this. It represents like us chilling back and letting Adobe do the work. Yeah, but this is a tutorial. Yeah, I know, but it's like we got to wait for the export, so I thought it would be like this cool, nah. Okay, that's fine. If you don't like it, we'll get rid of it. We'll cut it out. And looks like we're good. We've got the MXF video file. We've got the AAF file and also the included media and audio files. We're good to go. So if you have any additional questions on how to export the AAF file out of Adobe Premiere Pro, feel free to put those questions in the comments below.